that ends up leading into a huge food fight at the end of this movie that eventually consumes everyone. Legends, welcome along to another Laurel and Hardy review. This is actually so much fun doing these reviews. This box set is absolutely amazing. If you're one of the unfortunate few people on the planet that have no idea who Laurel and Hardy are, you are really, really missing out. The feature movie that came out, the biopic of him, Stan and Ollie, last year was epic, did them justice, but the real, both legends on their own, oh my goodness, so flippin' good. This is the Hoose-gow from 1929, and the Hoose-gow is another name for prison, the slammer. And at the beginning of this short film, Stan and Ollie have been sent to jail for they don't really be clear on what happened, but Stan and Ollie turn up and they're still, even after being sentenced, they're still pleading their innocence. This shouldn't be here. Whatever happened, this whole busload of prisoners that turn up, Stan and Ollie were just there watching whatever happened, but they get sent down with the rest of these guys. So they turn up, and that opening sequence of the prison bus turning up, and people are just stuffed in it all shapes. Like, people are hanging out the back door, there's legs sticking up in the air. It's like the anthill mob, if you're old enough to remember that cartoon. Brilliant. When they get out of the prison bus, and the guards are trying to get them sorted out and to the prison, Stan and Ollie fall out with each other, start fighting, kicking each other in the shins, kicking each other in the butt, and Ollie goes for a real swift kick at Stanley. Stanley ducks out of the way, and Ollie ends up hitting or kicking the prison officer, and he loses the plot and sends him over to the one side, like, here, get over there, out of my way, I'll deal with you later on. And Oliver's like, Stanley, don't worry, we've got a way out of here. Do you see that prisoner over there? This prisoner gave them 2 apples, and he says all we have to do is throw them over the prison wall, and his mates will be on the other side, ready to get us out of here. Now, I was totally expecting this to be a prank from the one prisoner on Laurel and Hardy, but as it does turn out, they do end up, well, they don't chuck the apples over the wall. The prison officer gets the apples taken off them, and he's like, no, no liberties on here, like, you're not going to get anything like this. He takes him off and he chucks him over the wall himself, and a rope ladder comes over from the other side, and of course he crawls up that, and there's 2 other gangsters on the outside of the wall, expecting their mate to come out, but they see the prison officer instead, and they drop the rope from their side, well, the rope ladder from their side, and he falls back into the prison. He ducks out through the main gate to try and chase these guys down, and Stan and Ollie take their opportunity to escape, and like, they're running across a field, and the prison officer pulls out his shotgun, fires 2 shots off, and the next thing you see is Stan and Ollie walking calmly back towards the prison and through the gates, but the backside of both their trousers are burned out from the gunshots that they just received from the prison officer. It goes on from there to Stan and Ollie and the rest of the prisoners been sent out on the chain gang, and they're digging drains and whatnot, and Stan and Ollie are using picks and shovels, There's so many accidents that happen between the two of them. Some of the slapstick comedy with the picks and shovels is really, really good, well choreographed. Like, there's some parts in it where I'm like, Oliver had to really get hurt a couple of times during this short film. Even though, obviously these picks and shovels and whatnot were props, but some of the stuff that they do with them in this here, prop or no prop, had to hurt. I'm pretty sure Oliver ends up getting, in the process of this film, gets his prison jacket ripped to shreds by Stanley with either a pickaxe, a shovel, or a simple little hand axe at one point in the movie as well. They get to dinner time, and the prisoners have got a long table set out in the encampment where they're at. There's a table for the prisoners. There's a well set table with a tablecloth off to the side. Stan and Ollie can't get into the big table with the other prisoners, and the prisoners are like, and this is where they do start the prank on them, is, that table over there is for you guys. And Stan and Ollie go over and sit down, start to eat their lunch, and turns out it's the prison officer's table, so they're in trouble once again. They're sent off to get their food and go to the other table, and they go to the chef and the chef camp hut sort of setup that he has, and he says to them, okay, right, get me some wood. He wants some wood so he can use his fuel for the burners in there to cook the food. He says, the more wood you can get me, the more food I'll give you. And off they go, and Stanley finds this little bit of wood on the ground and he starts chopping it. But Oliver comes up with a bright idea. Do you know what? And he said, the more wood, the more food we'll get, so we'll chop this tree down. What Oliver doesn't realise is that on top of this tree there's a prison officer and like a lookout post, and they manage to chop the tree down and it falls into the encampment and destroys the whole cookery section. They run back to the chain gang along with the rest of the prisoners when they realise that the prison warden is coming to investigate, is coming to inspect the camp for the chain gang. And he turns up with his wife, a ticket to be his wife. There's two women in the car with him. It's James Finlayson playing the prison warden. Brilliant. Love it whenever Finlayson is in these movies. And there's another couple of cars there with like other officials and whatnot, so they get out and they're looking about and everything is destroyed, but they're doing their thing, and we get back to see what the prisoners are doing, and once again Stan and Ollie have fallen out over a pickaxe, and Oliver chucks it away and it ends up sticking into the radiator of the prison warden's car. And when they pulled out of the radiator, the water starts squirting out everywhere, and like, what are we going to do, sort of thing. And one of the other prisoners says, I know how you can stop that, like, put rice under the radiator. And Stanley runs to the chef's tent and gets a massive huge bag of rice, brings it back, and Oliver starts pouring it into the top of the radiator of the car, and lo and behold, it does indeed stop the leak. And they close it up, the top of it again, and they go back to the chain gang. Finlayson comes back with the prison officers, and even though everything's destroyed over here, and he's happy enough with a scene for some weird reason, and he gets into the car. They're about to leave. His driver starts it up, and the radiator starts to bubble up, and rice pudding starts to blast out of the radiator of the car, and Stan and Ollie are fingered for it straight away. The prison officer's like, you guys do this. And Stanley comes over and he looks, and there's like a whole mountain of rice pudding gathering up below the car, and the prison officer kicks him in the butt. He falls flat in his mouth and nose into this stuff, and he's absolutely covered in it from head to toe. And of course, he gets up, gets angry, lifts a handful of it, and chucks it at the prison officer. That ends up leading into a huge food fight at the end of this movie that eventually consumes everyone. The whole chain gang is involved in it. Stan and Ollie's in the middle of it. All the prison officers are in there. James Finlayson is in the middle of it. His wife and her friend and all the officials. It's there. There's rice pudding flying everywhere by the end of this movie. Again, Stan and Ollie decide to try and escape, and they go and hide in one of the other cars. And Finlayson and one of his officials, or his driver, jumps into the car there, and they're going to go and get the militia to come and deal with the whole situation. And they reverse back, and at the end of the film they crash into this truck that's got these two big vats of white paint on it, and that blasts all over their car. And Stan and Ollie emerge from the back seat, head to toe, white like ghosts, covered in paint. I completely destroyed this film for you. I really did. I wasn't expecting to go into as much detail with this one, but this was so enjoyable for me. Like, I'm not even sure what the runtime is on that there. Like, it's probably about 18 to 25 minutes long, and it really didn't feel like it. It felt like 5 or 10 minutes at the very most, and I'm like, that was over very quick. But Stan and Ollie are absolutely brilliant at their comedy, and this one here was quite surprising for me. I have seen a lot of their shorts, some of the main more famous ones, but the Hoose-gow is one that I hadn't seen to this point, and it did not disappoint. There's a few clips on it I did see in compilation rolls, them fighting and the chain gang and getting the pickaxe caught up in Oliver's jacket. I've seen that, but it was only 5 or 6 seconds worth of this short film, but it was so good. If you haven't seen this one yet, I would highly recommend this. Again, as another one that is a perfect little introduction movie if you don't know the Laurel and Hardy movies and you want something quick just to digest on like a lunch break. You can easily watch this movie, and it is definitely a great intro to the legends themselves.